Hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Welcome if you're currently here in the live premiere. I appreciate it. If my eyes look squinted, it's because I was looking down at the floor, and because I'm in front of the window now, the light is very bright, okay, kind of like a vampire. So today we are returning back to the Dylan Rounds case coverage, key discussions, but more importantly, the key focus of a particular area of interest to do with trying to find Dylan Round's remains, and that is the wash, okay? Beforehand, we've looked at it here and there, but never really felt I had much material or backstory to analyse or to present to you, so you'd be aware of the situation, what's happened and when. But now I think it is doable, and there is a photo I can share with you as well to do with the track marks of some sort, with the backstory as well. All put together today, all under control. We can even narrate a little bit with the use of the maps as well. Probably just use Google Earth, I guess. But then when I think of it, because we need to be looking at updated imagery, right, relevant to nowadays, it's probably best to be using Bing Maps, okay? It should still visually be easy to follow, right? Maybe the colouring is a little bit different, but I think we'll try Bing Maps today, okay? So yeah, we got all that going on to do with the wash, the discussions behind it, the material, photos, tracks, all that. We can also check out the comments of the last video coverage of Dylan Rounds, get back to them if there's any questions that need to be answered, if there's any points of interest, information to read out, that's what we'll do. Probably begin that first, just to allow people to join on into this live premiere so no one's too late, okay? As well, the other thing that we need to look at is the drama with Watcher of Crazy. There's some kind of conspiracies going on in the background by some individual. We'll take a look at that today. Don't you worry, make sure to stick around for that and just see where we are from there. If you want to check out the previous videos on my channel, feel free to do so. They're all visible, they're all there, easy to follow, right, and find. Well, I hope so. As for the last Dylan Rounds video I did, I mean, it was only a couple of days ago, but maybe to some people it seems a bit longer. The video I did yesterday, if you haven't checked that one out, there will be a link down below in the comment section pinned. Make sure to watch it, it's quite interesting. As well, I think the cats will be doing a reaction to it coming up at some point, so that'll be interesting and fun to watch, to see how it goes. First time round it was good, see what the second one is like. Yes, it was a lot more wild this time. I think, you know, Watcher of Crazy, if you're present right now, leave your thoughts to how you feel at this moment, right? Have you recovered, or is there a long way ahead to get into that? Let me know, okay? You can mention the details if need be, in depth, whatever, right? So the only other observations to point out in between before we move any further, and that's to do with the Find Dylan Rounds Facebook page. Pretty quiet, more quiet than ever, right? Of course, the case has gone on for some time. It might drop off eventually once it reaches a certain point or length, but you know, I just don't know what's happened, right? I don't know if people are just satisfied with where the case is at, so they don't need to be really asking any more questions anymore, or other stuff's going on in the background. I don't know. As for other cases you have followed, what's the longest one you have followed? Is it still ongoing right now? List it in the chat. And is there still information coming out at this moment in time? Like, is it still active, whatever case you've been looking at? List it all down below, because just out of interest, right? Dylan Rounds has gone on for over, what, 8-9 months? And it has definitely gone quiet in recent time, both Facebook page and on YouTube as well. I don't know if some people have tried doing some last ditch attempts of trying to reach out to Dylan Rounds. You remember the card readers, the psychics, all that in the early days, mid-range days. That was the common trend at the time. But each channel ended up moving away or exposed or shut down, whatever it may be, right? So they all faded away and move on to the next thing, right? But just recently I noticed Kaylee. I know some of you will know who I'm talking about. Kaylee, their channel name, new channel being called Mighty Mouse Tree, okay? Recently did a live stream to do with Dylan Rounds, and she was using some kind of paranormal communication device, but it wasn't in physical form. It was a downloaded app from the computer, I think, because I did type in the name of that app online and it did come up worded as the most popular used paranormal investigation app used by professional paranormal hunters or people trying to communicate just in general, that type of stuff, right? And when I saw it, I thought, oh no, is it really effective? Well, I didn't really watch it, right? But at this stage in the case, is it really useful doing some kind of paranormal psychic reading, trying to communicate with Dylan Rounds on the other side? Is it really that practical right now, this far into the case? We'll do a poll right now. Do you agree? Do you think that the use of this paranormal communication is a successful attempt this late on in the case? Or do you just feel it's pointless and it was just a bandwagon trend in the past? Let me know your thoughts, make sure to vote. And of course, as we do go along in this video, make sure to share your thoughts, opinions, and reactions in the chat, right? It's about a range of different things, but a level of focus on Dylan Rounds, because that's why we're here. And yes, that other video recently, the 7-hour one, the long one, I think it's more suitable to do a singular video about that and talk about it and explain it, okay? That can be the next one after this, right? I didn't want it to get lost or muddled up in the sea of thoughts to do with Dylan Rounds, right? That's why things need to be separated for a reason. So that will be coming up at some point, and maybe the length of it, we can tie it in with a little map time as well, just so it's not too short or too dead. So I think that'll be fine there. But yeah, this communication, Kaylee, I think Alice might have been there. Pancakes was definitely there. Pancakes asking Dylan Rounds questions to do with the psychic, the paranormal stuff. Where are you? Did you get hurt? Were you killed in Dylan's trailer, in Brenna's trailer or something? Are you in Brenna's trailer? And I don't think they really got much of a response, right? But I just thought, you know, why was this not done in the early days? Is it being done now because you don't know what else to think or say or do, right? Or with other YouTubers, they've moved on to other cases. Because of that, there's not much more to do, right? I mean, as for me, I got to a point where I was like, right, I've done this, I've done that. There isn't much more to do now, right? But then more ideas and suggestions came on through, and that's what we did. Looked at them, and we're still here at this moment, right? I'd say this video is more of a checkpoint one, because once this has been done, it's like, what happens next, right? And if there's not much happening, then I can move on to other stuff. That's why some of the more light-hearted videos in recent time, the messy ones, the funny ones, the dodgy ones, have been a good filler in, which are good in themselves, right? And you get a positive reaction from them, as people would have seen, and they are just fun to make, right? Don't have to be as serious. But, you know, times like that in the past, there probably just wouldn't have been videos, right, until the next important update comes. So to be able to do these in between, it's still keeping the overall atmosphere active, just in different ways. So I think that's quite good. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below to what you think about the whole paranormal psychic stuff. BS, helpful, too late now, or still of use? I don't think Candice Cooley, Justin have ever tried going down that route. It's understandable, I guess. But yeah, Lance Kelly, I guess he did some videos recently. Some people's leaving comments saying that he's forgotten, or some people have forgotten or ignored about the whole wash talk. Was it people scared of it, or people don't want to interrupt themselves with that? I don't know, to be honest. Ty Corbin, a little bit quiet recently, not sure what's going there. But, you know, not everyone can be, you know, active 24/7, it's understandable. Are we seeing that drop off? Yes, the predictions I made in the past about people dropping off one by one is evident and has happened. That was yet another prediction I got right. The other prediction I made, which is still pending ongoing, was to do with certain channels out there who have it in for each other, even when Dylan Rounds, let's say, is found. The drama and tension will drag on after that still, for whatever reason, okay? The only last thing to mention before we do move on properly is, no thanks, Doug did a recent live video. It was to do about a whole number of cases and updates, and in the title it included Dylan Rounds. Now, I only skipped through the video just because of the length and busy at the time. I didn't really hear anything mentioned about Dylan Rounds. I'm sure it would have come up in conversation at some point, but I think it was one of those videos where it's probably just a few minutes talking about Dylan or what might be upcoming, and then the rest is about all the other cases and stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's why I don't do videos like that, where you muddle multiple cases into one video, because people could read the title and think, oh, that one case I'm interested in, the others I'm not. And you got to sit through and sieve through 40, 50 minutes worth of video footage just for that one little update, which may not even be there or even be an update at all. You get what I'm saying? If any of you have watched that video and managed to find the talk discussion about Dylan Rounds, feel free to summarize it or just provide a timestamp down below, right? Just for time efficiency, that's all. So I think with that all in mind, as said, make sure to check out my previous video, link down below, and feel free to give your thoughts, opinions in the chat today as we do go along to do with Dylan Rounds. Let's begin first with the comments of the last Dylan Rounds video I did and see where we are from there. What I'll do is arrange it to the newest comments and start from the bottom. These are from the video I did to do with Brenner's burnt down trailer being debunked. If you want to know and learn more about it and the backstory behind it, make sure to check the video out. It was uploaded to my channel probably about 5-6 days ago or something, okay? Stoney Productions, leaving a comment, it's JLR, okay? It looks like Stoney Productions is quite familiar with JLR. Is there anyone in the chat right now that's heard of JLR? Let me know. Personally, previously, I've never heard of him before, okay? Never heard of him before, never really seen him before, okay? Might just be because I was really doing the Kenny Veach case and nothing else at the time. But even the Dylan Rounds case, right, for quite a bit up until recently, not heard of him. But yeah, JLR getting himself involved in the Dylan Rounds case recently. Don't know why, maybe he just does a range of different things, right? Different cases, I guess, like the Idaho 4 one, which I think people have been referring to him recently. As well, there is people just in the Dylan Rounds community recently. Was it people in my chat or in someone else's where they were saying, oh no, JLR's back, JLR is here, oh that's not good, he's in town, oh no, he's done bad things in the past. I have no clue what people are talking about or what that guy has done, whatever it may be. If you wish to list it down below, if you want, or if it's possible, feel free to do so. But, you know, I'm just focusing on the Dylan Rounds case, okay? Tom Evans, what does he say? I'm intrigued with the root cellar. Right now, I think it plays a big role in this case. I did do a video of that and Tom did watch. Don't know where he stands right now with his points about it. But the root cellar being near to Lucin Pond, right? Indiana says, right, Tom, was someone in it when Brenner passed and threw in Dylan's phone and maybe more? Well, that can't be the case. Was someone in it when Brenner passed? Someone in it when Brenner passed and threw in Dylan's phone and maybe more? No, that can't be the case, can it? No, it can't, because the phone was retrieved from the pond. Okay? Tom saying, I think the wash next to Lucin Pond that Scott Nuttall showed in his video must be where Chase and Robert hid their vehicles. Why did they hid their vehicles? Were they their vehicles or were they stolen? Anyone confirm? Tom says, yes, Chase or Robert could easily have witnessed something dodgy. I understand now that when Robert was at the pond with Box Elder, he showed them where the four-wheeler was. Chase's motorhome was somewhat close also, but Box Elder has never said exactly where. I thought Chase Venstra was living in Montello, Nevada. Are you saying that Chase Venstra was living in Lucin? Or was it only temporary to do with when Dylan went missing? Can anyone explain that? From how it's been worded by Candice Cooley in past interviews is that Chase Venstra didn't really stay in one area. He kept on moving about from Montello to up to Ogden. Okay? I mean, some of this stuff mentioned here about the situation with Box Elder and Robert taking him to the pond. Ty Corbin has mentioned some of this stuff a few times in the past. What else? Tom says, why Box Elder is keeping that a secret leads me to think that Robert and Chase have a formation. Why else would Box Elder keep that a secret? I mean, the only thing you could refer to, if that's what you did, was with Chase Venstra, his situation at this moment in time with his, what do you call it, the dates of going here or going there, extradition, still seems to remain a bit of a mystery of what's really going on with him. Some stuff that I guess should have already happened but hasn't. Kind of like with Brenner, I guess, how Brenner's supposed to be having this court date, then it's delayed, then it's delayed, then it's delayed. And 24th today, I think Tom Evans left a comment on a different page or something on my channel to do with saying any updates on the 24th with Brenner's court appearance. But recently it was Indiana that said she heard that it's been delayed, and that was passed on from what Glorin Dellen said. Okay? Is Glorin Dellen always right? I don't know. But she seems to be fairly accurate in what she says. Okay? I don't know the background area, but she has been present to do this court stuff in the past with Brenner, so she must have a fairly good idea, right? But we'll see what happens next. We'll see what the updates are. Sometimes Lance Kelly, Earthworm Infotainment, does a little update on the court cases to do with Brenner on the shorts page. So just be on the lookout for it. If you do have information yourself and you want to share it, feel free to maybe list it down below in the comment section or even the live chat. Okay? But yeah. Anything else? Big Girl Dia. Shout out to Big Girl, new viewer, I believe, saying, I agree, the root seller has my attention. I have been following the Dylan Rounds case from the start, and as crazy as it sounds, this is the first I have seen or heard of a root cellar next to the pond. Very interesting. See, this is the thing. The root cellar may or may not be of interest, but at the end of the day, it seems to have gone under the radar for some people, I guess. Maybe for more. You never know. Depends how many people are out there that have not really looked into it. But if you haven't got people going up to the area and recording, documenting it or pointing it out, then you're not really ever going to know about it. And just in general, if the main focus is clouded by drama, but then also misinformation and confusion and conspiracies, etc., etc., some stuff that may have been pointed out briefly just fades away and is drowned out, right? And then you just don't hear of it again. But someone like me, I've got extensive experience when it comes to these little locations or little items, things of interest, where in the past I pointed it out, like a Kenny Veach case, M Cave hike, and people were like, oh shit, I've never seen that before. I've never thought about it that way. And then it's opened up new discussions. The same is happening here, right? I don't know if it will lead to it being debunked or adding on to the mystery or not, but yeah, this is one of the areas which I guess has been forgotten about. And that's to do with the root cellar near to the pond area. How deep is it? Not quite sure. Does it drop down in depth? Don't know. Has anyone actually been inside of it? Don't know. Who owns it? Don't know. When was it last used? Don't know. Did Dylan ever use it? Did Brenna ever use it? Did Don ever use it? Don't know. A lot of questions, right? But let me know your thoughts about the root cellar. I would do a poll, but I don't know if it's too soon. Oh well, never mind. We'll do a poll right now. Do you feel that the root cellar is a place of interest or not? Bit of a vague one, that, right? But you know what place of interest means, somehow associated within the case of Dylan. You would have thought that it would have been searched, right, if police or whoever, divers, went down to Lucin Pond to begin with. Surely they would have seen the root cellar nearby and gone inside of it, but you never know. As for that bra shed, was that ever truly searched? You'd think so as well, because it does stand out in size, in the middle of the fields, open. Still no update there regarding Lance Kelly. Guess that one fell flat. Yeah, interesting. Indiana saying, right, what the both of them saw and knew might have been their bargaining chip when sentenced. Maybe, as we have very little from them since. Maybe. But we're talking about like bargaining chip for the sentence, maybe to be reduced, lessened, some kind of leniency there. Okay, Chase Venstra, arrested in the early days, right, to do with the Dylan Rounds case, even though the charges weren't associated with Dylan, but it followed the same theme as Brenner with the gun charges, at least. But someone like Robert Aviles was a walking free man or so, who was, excused by people, defended by like Ty Corbin, etc., wasn't arrested or anything, or tied with Dylan Rounds. Fast forward onwards, months on, then he goes into some kind of rehab thing, then supposedly escapes, then supposedly goes back in, out, shake it all about, ends up in Montello, returning back there, and then very shortly afterwards, from what Taylena said, increasement in burglary or something, but then it's mentioned by someone else, maybe Indiana, about gun charges in possession or so, and then Robert Aviles is then arrested, and that's like maybe some weeks ago now. You know what I'm saying? If there was some bargaining chip, you could understand it with Venstra as he was taken in, in the early days. But as for Robert Aviles, if Robert Aviles was never done for those gun charges or supposedly gun charges in recent time, then he would still be walking around. So why would he need a bargaining chip or anything if he's not really in a situation to be negotiating because he's not in a bad situation? Does that kind of make sense to you? He now is kind of screwed because he's been arrested again, or from what other people have said at least. But that's much later on than when Chase Venstra was taken in the early days. So I don't think so. Cleo says, we'll see what happens next. Angel Gabriel just subscribed. Indiana, about time. So Angel Gabriel, there's a few people in the chat that have the odd few conspiracies going, trying to understand who this person could be. You want to guess, feel free to list it down below, okay? Whoever they are, the present, right? We got Beatrice. I believe that's too much land to cover and not enough people looking for him. Was it Candice Cooley that said in the early days there was about 500 people hand in hand going across the fields trying to look? But then Ty Corbin said he never saw anything, or at least at the time when he was out there searching. I mean, ultimately, how many people do you think it would need to be able to search the area effectively and completely? 10,000 people? 20,000 people? Let me know. What does Cleo say? What do you know? I always learn something new on the news. Love your intro. What's that? In quotes. Cheer up. I know it sucks. What sucks? I don't know. Indiana saying Dylan cracked the mainline pipes due to not putting water into them in wintertime. They had to dig up and replace the cracked pipes. Costed Dylan $3,500 according to Kurt. So there will be patches along the main line where pipes were replaced. Right. So, Indiana, is this your response to do with me where I talked about... No. No. Crack the main line. Indiana, you're referring to Dylan's pivot, aren't you? Correct? Yeah. So that bare patch, what we looked at recently, was to do with the other pivot, which isn't owned by Dylan Rounds. So that still remains a question. I did ask Quintessential about it, but he didn't respond back to that one bit. You remember? So is this yet another example of Dylan and his reckless farming, forgetting to do this, forgetting to do that, and it's leading to negative impacts? I don't know. 3,500 according to Kurt. Right. They had to dig up. So when they say they had to dig up, who's they? Dylan and Kurt, or other people too? You know, is there anything to do with Dylan's recklessness led to the frustration in some people in the area? Another motive for taking Dylan out? Oh God, Indiana is firing back and forth with these comments, saying we need more information on this blue truck with deer bars on it and lights above the cab. Which hardened folk did Brenner know from his past who could have had the job done for Brenner, removing Dylan, and be able to keep their mouths shut? Well, when it comes to Brenner seems to keep to himself. Cleo says, agree, considering circumstances, kind of odd. Tom, I asked the same question. Why wasn't this vehicle looked into? Why would Ellie ignore this? They may have not. What's this? We need more information on this blue truck with deer bars on it and lights above the cab. What the hell is this blue truck? What blue truck are we talking about? What day? What date? What month? What year? Feel free to provide it. What location? Who saw it? Where is it coming from? Where was it going to? Because if we're talking about a bluish truck, there was a bluish truck at Brenner's burnt down property back in 2019, right? But obviously 2019 satellite imagery of Brenner's trailer intact, not burnt down, perfectly fine. And it was Brenner's blue truck. Okay? Is that any correlation to what's mentioned here by Indiana? I don't know. Yeah. Pack and go. I missed the premiere, very busy. Son has the flu, just getting a break today, catching up on this. The rumour one. I feel like I may have read this. Weird. Patsy enjoying the ref reports, tying up all those loose ends, but still left with so many questions. Patsy saying, hang on a second, that root cellar. I remember it from a while ago. I made notes on it being creepy and weird. Looking back in, said notes. A picture of it appeared on the video thumbnail. Additional photos of Lucin analysis. Checking reviews from Montello Motel found. 11th the 2nd, 2022. Sound familiar? First Warlike Ref video I watched. Remember the motel door someone had punched through? Classic Warlike Ref. So Patsy definitely knows what she's talking about. Being able to remember that far back. Yeah, that could have been around the time when I started looking more into the motels, or where it mainly begun, right? And I think the one we're referring to, the one which had that hole punched through, that was from 2019 to 2021, the photos. The door was never fixed through those years. I think we might have been introduced the first time to Motel 6, and that's what had the hole in the door, Motel 6. And outside you had that car which ended up not really parking correctly and was kind of like stood up, crashed into that lamppost. Don't know what the hell was going on there, but it was definitely a good introduction to the Motel 6 and the weird motels and all the wacky photos you can come across, right? And yeah, that's around the time when I probably did look at photos of Lucin in general, and we came across the root cellar, but wasn't quite familiar with it at the time. Maybe Ty Corbin might have mentioned root cellar briefly, but I probably didn't remember it. Then fast forward onwards to more recent time with Montello Local providing those photos of their visit down to the area of Lucin and Lucin Pond. And that's when I noticed in the background that root cellar. And then we kind of tied it all together most recently. So luckily, because my memory is somewhat okay at times, I can, bring things back up from the past, right? If we need to tie more recent things together. Is that it of the comments? Yep, that seems to be it Is that it of the comments? Yep, that seems to be it. Let's move on. And now it's that time we move on to drama alert. Yep, get your sirens out and your red flashing lights. We need to talk about the latest drama and accusations going about. I believe this involves both Stoney, It's Stoney, and Watcher of Crazy. Both being viewers on my channel. Watcher of Crazy being a member on my channel. Stoney was a temporary member on my channel, but disappeared suddenly. I don't know what went wrong. Maybe an account was deleted or something. I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah, they're the two names going about recently. It might be linked to last night's video in the chat. Stoney did provide a video herself, so we'll take a look at that in a second and try and understand it. But from the looks of it overall, the accusations is Stoney is saying that Watcher of Crazy is my granny. Okay, so you heard it, everyone in the chat, and as well, Watcher of Nipples. Watcher of Nipples is my granny, my grandma. Okay. Well, first of all, let me just put this neck rest on right now before I get any more whiplash. Okay, Miss T, you know exactly what I'm talking about. As for Betty Hayward, I need to put some kind of helmet on for safety so I don't get prodded by that massive whip, okay? But what I do want to address right now as an important point, Stoney, hopefully you're listening, Watcher of Crazy is not my granny. What the hell are you thinking? As if Watcher of Nips is my granny. Who would ever think of that? No, Watcher of Crazy is my stepmom. Yeah, simple as. And that's not just the only person. With time, evolutionary, whatever, many more Warlike Wrath stepmoms are appearing by the day, by the second, statistically speaking. So, a lot of different people out there. new developments going on. As for the granny situation, you've got Granny Indiana, okay, but you've also got Granny Pack and Go, Granny Tara with her cookies, okay, Stoney. That's the current situation at where we're at. Overall, we do have a general healthy kitty cat population going on. In the past, it was more of a conservation situation for endangered kitty cats, but it started branching out now. It's all under control, okay? So hopefully that sets the record straight, but we will refer back to Stoney's video just for context to understand, you know, what it's really referring to. Here we are on Stoney's video. It's a short one. There's no audio background music, so no copyright problems there. And the caption of the video by Stoney saying, "Is it nasty that someone that can be Warlight Ref's granny is speaking like this? Ew," in his chat. So I believe this is from last night, okay? So I guess it's a couple of screenshots. Let's read what they're on about to do with Stoney thinking they're nasty. Watcher Crazy says, "I like friction." Now, the reason why Watcher said she likes friction is because at that moment in the video, I was grinding two balls together, okay? I said, if you want context, check the previous video out. The balls were spiky, hard, and equal size to one another, okay? Different colours, but who cares? They can be used as deep muscle massage balls, okay? You know, if you've got strains or pains, that's what they're really used for. But grinding them together, creating some kind of vibrations, and Watcher Crazy, let me know in the chat that the grinding of the balls made her nips hard, okay? So that's always good to know, of course. You know what works and what doesn't, so we found that out at least. Maria's comment there saying that's only girly girls laugh. Okay, I think that was just caught up in the screenshot. Let's check the next comment out that Stoney documented, supposedly. Watcher Crazy saying, "Makes me tingle." So that's still tying on with the nipple situation, okay? Do we have anything else going on? Oh, actually, quickly, Ya Den La. Is that some kind of Spanish or something? She prefers slow friction. Okay, so Ya Den La, also known as Campos Tacos. Okay, the individual that wanted their tacos filled completely. Okay, I don't know how many tacos they've got, but, you know, who cares, right? Crazy taco person, okay? And they prefer slow friction. Snook says not the pulling. Why, do you like tugging? Anyway, that's irrelevant. Watcher of Crazy saying it is all my fault. Now, basically what Watcher of Crazy means there is in the video, I was joking about saying how, you know, if you wonder what's going on here with all the weird sounds in the background and the audio, and, you know, I apologise if the speaker's on loud or if you've got it on loud and then you hear all this out of context stuff. It could be awkward depending on what situation or environment you're in. I just made the joke saying, oh, well, blame Watcher of Crazy because she wanted the whipping, so this is why the video is present, as well as the dodgy audio, and that's what she meant by it's all my fault. So that explains that. Moon Mom says, my dog drools all over his spiky ball. Well, I'll definitely make sure to keep my ball away from that dog. Don't want it drooling over it. Ew. Sea Org says exactly whatever that is. Watcher Crazy. F blue balls, green balls are the thing. And then Watcher's like, wow. Okay. Let's move on to the next comments. Just wait for it to do whatever. There we go. Watcher Crazy responding to Gold Eagle. I never saw Gold Eagle in the chat. Who are they? Saying he is old enough, just tender. Have I suddenly turned into a piece of steak all of a sudden? Excuse me. I would like to be seasoned, first of all. Thank you very much. Watcher Crazy, I am just a little wet, I said. He. Or as Crazy Watcher would say, something like that. Okay. So the reason why Watcher of Crazy was a little bit wet, okay, I think she was talking about her lips being wet, okay, the lips. And that's because I asked a question, are you wet? And they said, yes. So that's pretty, straight to the point, right? What set of lips? I don't know. Let's move on. Just wait for it to load, whatever. Is there another comment? There we go. Watcher Crazy. Yeehaw! Okay. Anything else? No, that's about it. Okay. No comments yet. When was this uploaded? I don't know. I don't know if it does give the date. That's a problem with short videos. They don't always seem to provide the date in the corner of the screen unless there's another way of checking. You know what I'm saying? When I did Kenny Veach short videos in the past saying update, people misinterpreted it. Many people complained, whinged and whined in recent time. They don't even understand that that's a bloody short video from a fucking year or two ago, which was basically talking about the next upcoming video at the time relevant, right? But people just seem to look over that. But of course, if the dates are missing, people aren't going to know when it was truly uploaded. So I think YouTube needs to improve that for context reasons, right? The dates being visible. But yeah, let's just return back to my thoughts. I personally could see it as a bit of a piss take situation, that not being too serious as for what Stoney is talking about. But I guess if you're a different individual and all you've ever seen from Stoney is drama, causing trouble, complaining, starting trouble, whatever, that's not coming from me. That's not coming from what I am saying. I'm wording it as what other people will be thinking from their experiences, right? When they see this mentioned by Stoney, they're probably not going to see it as a funny thing or lighthearted at all. They probably assume that Stoney is under the assumption that this person is a family member and that's how they're talking to me, and that's disturbing and creepy, etc., going down that dark route. But the actual reality is, if you do the DNA results, you're not the father, man. You're not even the mother. You're just a gorilla. What are you on about, man? We're on top of Space Mountain, man. You gonna jump off? Well, I see you try. The gravitational pull is not going to work unless your Weedle be, you be dragged down to the Earth's core in a matter of seconds, man. Afterburn as well. Probably with Gorilla Jack, he'll get afterburn with the way he wiped his ass last time, man. God, you got to learn your lessons, man. It's just not going to work. Anyway, that aside, I think it's very self-explanatory what the situation is at this moment in time. Unnecessary trouble, weird observations, right? I mean, if certain individuals were present at points in the past, right? Okay, maybe Maria has said some dodgy things here and there. Maybe Cleo has said some dodgy things here and there. Indiana, oh yes, said some dodgy things here and there. But they weren't called out. They weren't targeted. That might be because Stoney is okay with those set of people. But then someone like Watcher of Crazy, or maybe the odd other person here and there who may not associate themselves or get on well with Stoney, or Stoney doesn't get on well with them, when these people say stuff similar to what other people have said, the other people are excused, but these people are picked up on more, and the narrative is slightly changed and manipulated as some kind of conspiracy. Yeah, okay. That's what I mean. Very short, very straight to the point this, because as I said, it's programmed in here, downloaded everything into my mind with human behavior. I've got an idea of what is going on, okay? And what I will say as for predictions, because I did mention it in the past, and if I didn't truly, it was definitely in here. The whole Noah's Ark situation is already fully in place, okay? The bidding war headhunter situation is already in place. As for how it follows, other people have failed, and that's what the downfall has been. It will not happen here. Simple as, straight to the point. We don't need to talk no further. Now, with that all being out the way, welcome if you have just joined. If you do want to rewind back, feel free to do so. Miss T, put it on ×2 speed if you wish. But what I will say is, okay, I don't know if you will hear this if the video is going very quickly, but just slow it down, Miss T. Miss T, yeah, this is the symbol for Miss T. Time out for Miss T. Not quite, no, not a literal timeout in the chat. No, we're not going there. But Miss T, okay. What I would advise, once again, because it worked very well the last time when you did that reaction video to my video, put it in the 1.25 times speed. It's the perfect speed, and you can still hear and listen in perfectly fine, and time efficient as well. ×2, I could not keep up, okay, but 1.25, perfect, okay? Just wanted to note that down quickly. What we are going to move on to right now, though, is the discussion about the wash, okay? I've tried to be careful with the wording of it in the past. I think in the early days we called it the wash, but then at a certain point I started calling it a wash, because at a certain point I was confused to what wash we were referring to and where. You've got the wash which you see near to the railroad tracks, near to the grain shed property, that one, okay, which is just a bit before Lucin Pond, if I'm correct in saying, as for the way it like bends round. But I believe that wash originates from Grouse Creek further north, and we did do a video on that, okay? And at some point when it does get into the Lucin area, it passes underneath the railroad tracks and comes out the other side like a tunnel or something, or a pipe, and it goes that way. The wash does get to the pond area, I believe, and one of the dirt roads you take, the back roads to get to the pond, it looks like you drive down into the wash from the looks of it. I might be wrong, but it looks like it dips down, right? Obviously, some of you may be already familiar with it, but if you wanted a quick visual description, there you go. We can return to the maps very shortly, but I think what we need to do first is provide that backstory, background talk about the wash, right? Provided by another individual. Shout out to them, credit to them. I don't know if to mention their name or not, whether they want it or not. I'll keep it quiet, okay? But yeah, just read out this like piece of text, this piece of information, followed by the photo, talk about it, and followed by just the map itself, just to talk and look, okay? Here we are with the info here. I've got it this way round on the screen because if I rotate it, the text does not fit on. So it reads, please find, pick, attach, which we'll get to later. It's a photo of where the pickup tracks were seen 20 miles out from Lucin Pond. Candy said was to the west from the pond, but I don't believe it's true. It's more southeast or northeast direction. Now, very brief backstory to do with the tracks being near the wash or within the wash. I do remember it being talked about in the past, I think more so on Nate Eaton's East Idaho News channel, if you remember. At some point, Candice Cooley said what she wanted to do was try and track these, well, get the tracks, I guess, make a cast out of them, or try and retrieve the tracks in some way and then trace it back to some kind of vehicle registration check to see if it ties with Dylan's actual pickup vehicle. Do you remember that? It was something along the lines of it. I don't know if Candice was saying at the time the tracks were visible but not complete, where you could do like a full cast to get a print, an imprint of it, because it wasn't complete. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel, though, with what we know over time, with Saturday the 28th of May 2022 raining hellaciously in the early hours of the morning, as well as raining over Sunday time, it's understandable to why track marks would be left in the ground, right? With it being wet, the ground being moist, the weight of the vehicle as well, making contact with the ground, leaving imprints, yeah? And I guess with time, if it does dry, the ground hardens with those marks within, and then it's preserved for a certain length of time, right? So hopefully that explains it a bit more to you. But yeah, tracks were seen 20 miles out from Lucin Pond, and Candice saying it was west from the pond. West from the pond? 20 miles away. That does seem a little bit incorrect. That seems like, I don't know in terms of distance on the spot, but it seems as if you're going into the Montello, Nevada area. You know, if you got the pond and you're going 20 miles west, I'm sure you'll be in Montello by then. So what's it doing over there? I mean, yeah, in Montello, Nevada, there was the odd wash, which we probably took a look at, the one where it flooded back in 2017, that imagery, if you remember. But I don't know if that's the one to do with the track marks. Interesting. But from the looks of it, this person's saying that Candice could be wrong. It's more southeast or northeast. I would agree with that, because that seems to fall more in line with the direction of the actual wash in Lucin, I guess. Anyway, continuing on, this bit of information says, if the helicopter was flying back to the other airport, it will be in that direction. Can't remember the name of the other airport. I think it's the same airport Heavy D flew to refuel. Photo is not from Heavy D, but from another pilot, York, that saw the tracks. That's why it's not on Heavy D's video. Everyone was getting confused. So what, it was the pilot that noticed the track marks before Candice Cooley did? Is that the correct order? What else? The tracks seen 20 miles out, Chris and Equisearch went there. They said they saw a bit of the track sticking out from the snow, and they found something just further up on the bank. It was given to LE. I believe it might be something of Dylan's. When they were there, Equisearch left the drone to Chris to operate, and Chris did a scan upriver, but said it was difficult to see anything because of the snow. Chris emailed me and said that they going back to the same spot as soon as the snow's melted. Candy said apparently the tracks were still there, but couldn't see the prints clearly to make it out if it's Dylan's pickup, but width of tracks were very close to Dylan's pickup tracks. They said there was no other tracks there when they got there, so no searcher has been there to check before they arrived. Okay. Anything there to analyse myself? So Chris and Equisearch, is this tying in line with the big push before winter time or during? Is this in 2022 at the end of the year, or 2023 sometime in January, February or onwards? Can that context be provided? I mean, we're talking about snow, so maybe not right now, but a few months ago possibly, or end of 2022 when the snow was arguably heavier at that time, which did prevent searches from taking place for a bit, as we know. These track marks. So what, they went back there, or they went there themselves? They found something further up the bank. So I wonder what that something is. Has this got anything to do with that last East Idaho News Channel interview in which Candice Cooley said that LE have found something, but we don't know what it is? Could that be it? Do you remember? It was never really explained. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think that video footage of Brenner, the 27-second one, Candice Cooley said they knew about that since November of 2022, so it wasn't that. This East Idaho News Channel interview took place sometime in 2023, right? I think it might have been in February. And that's when they said that they found something else, but the family don't know themselves what it could be, but it's something of evidence. So does that link to what's mentioned here by Chris and Equisearch finding something and handing it to the LE? I think there could be a link there. Yeah. When they were with Equisearch, Chris operated the drone, Chris from Mob Crew, scanning about, but the snow, yeah, okay, understandable. Going back to that same spot once it's melted, okay, so like right now, because snow has melted, I believe, Candice apparently said the tracks were still there, but couldn't see the prints clearly to make it out of its Dylan's pickup. But I thought Candice Cooley went to those track marks in the past to try and make sense of it all and do that registration check with that person out there, wherever. Why leave it so late when the track marks may have faded or not as clear to see now? What was the delay there? Did the snow impact the track marks? You know, like the ground's wet. You produced a track mark, it's imprinted in the ground, then the ground goes maybe hard, let's say. Then the snow comes on in the ice, it freezes over. Does it preserve the track marks or does it disrupt the ground? Once it starts melting away, does the ground crack, crumble, break up? Does that impact the prints that way round? Anyone know? Couldn't make it. Yeah, Dylan's pickup, but Widford tracks were very close to Dylan's pickup. If they're very close to Dylan's pickup, it's not saying that it is Dylan's pickup. Anything like measurements of something like a possession measures close to Dylan's, that technically means it's not Dylan's, but it's something similar. Right. Anything else? No other tracks there when they got there, so no searcher has been there to check. Has no other searcher been there to check because they don't know where these track marks are? Or they just don't think it's that important? What do you think? Anything else here? To me, what doesn't make any sense at all is every searcher knows Brenner told Kevin Bibbins he would bury Dylan in the wash, but every searcher is avoiding it. Okay, interesting. I mean, this is tying on with that point made about Lance Kelly, Earthworm Infotainment, being told about this and that and then not going down to the wash. But I'll just say one thing. If this whole wash scenario is to do with the wash near to the Grainshed property, at least, okay? Take in mind, I'm not an expert on washes. I do have a wash regularly, but not washes in Lucin, okay? You know, when looking at the maps, it's hard to tell what is a wash and what isn't because of the weird colouring and texturing. But if we're talking about the one at the Grainshed property, Lance Kelly has gone into it, looking about casually. Ty Corbin has gone into it as well, walking about. And was there a video of him trying to dig away at the side wall of the wash or something? Doesn't that mean that they've been in the wash? Or were they in the wrong area of the wash? Or, by what you say, that they're avoiding the wash, all known searchers? Are we talking about a different wash? A wash which is southeast, northeast of Lucin? Can anyone confirm? Very loose language, I know, but what can you do? I'm sure we can probably get a definitive answer or an update to reinforce. I think what we'll do now is just briefly look at the photo of these track marks and then go on to the maps. So the image provided here by the person talking about the wash and the tracks are on screen as we speak. Now, what do I begin with first? First of all, I can't really make out the track marks because the image quality is quite poor and blurry. Maybe you can make out the track marks yourself with your eyes. Let me know in the chat. Somewhere, maybe middle of the screen. It's very hard to see, to be honest. Okay, but once again, we're just working with what we've got. Though what I can seem to make out is the wall of the wash on that side. You can see the depth to it. On top, you've got the land, which is a darker colour. Then it seems to drop down the depth. And then on the side, it's very lightly coloured, which is the wall of a wash. And it goes all the way down there. On the left-hand side, can't quite see it because I think we're on a bend, right? So on the bend of a wash from the looks of it. How deep is it? I don't know. It looks like the gradient is going down, like you're going deeper into the wash. So is this at the start of the wash or at the end point of the wash where it's a bit more shallow and then you descend into it? Because that's what it looks like. It looks like you're descending into it. Is there a date provided of when this photo was taken? I don't know myself. Maybe the track marks you can see down there on the screen, like that black line, possibly. But it looks like the photo taken was someone inside of a car. So I guess before they drove down, they took a photo looking out of the window, I guess. I think Candice Cooley had some footage herself when walking about near the dirt mound or something, looking for track marks or footprints. But that video quality was very blurry. Now, how do I know about it? Because I think it was just briefly mentioned, or it showed up in a news video, or maybe more so one of the other YouTube channels out there that used a bit of their footage from Candice Cooley. But the quality is just really bad. And, you know, if you're trying to document evidence, document something, you want the best quality possible. What I'm looking at here, by this quality, it's almost as bad as people trying to record Bigfoot in the forest or a UFO in the sky, where it's very blurry, very juttery, camera shakes, the lot. But at least I can acknowledge and see that it appears to be in a wash, which ties in line with what's been said and what Candice Cooley has said in the early days. But my question still is, if there was track marks in a particular wash, particular area, then why did they not investigate the track marks as soon as possible and try and do everything they could to track them down, relocate, or measure, you know, before the snow came in and then it became disrupted? Why leave it so long? Were they not allowed to in the early days? Did the police just not bother? You know, what's your thoughts on that? And a bit about Equisearch and Mob Crew Chris. Is this to do with at the end of 2022 or going into the new year of 2023 when they found something at the bank? That's my only other question. Let's just go on to the maps right now just to see if we can try and look at the wash in a different way or see if we pick up on anything else. Here we are. We'll just zoom on out. Okay, we've been in Lucin, the satellite imagery from Bing Maps 2023 satellite. Okay, there you go. It's labelled Lucin. And I think some of the roads are labelled as well, like Pilot Mountain Road. That can be helpful as well as reference points. You know, you might be thinking, where is the typical wash which we've been looking at over time? You might be confused because visually, it does look different in colours. This here is the wash, okay? But it does look different in colour, correct? But it is the wash, as you can see. In the past, it used to be more browny looking colour, okay? Lucin Pond being here, as we see, centre of the screen. Candice Cooley saying the tracks were 20 miles west of the pond. Now, unfortunately, I don't think on here it has a measuring stick, which is a bit silly. 20 miles, where does that actually go? I mean, we can still measure it ourselves on Google Earth very shortly. We can always use that, yeah. I just wanted to use Bing Maps just so it looks newer and more up-to-date, right? It might have revealed something we've not seen before. But the wash does seem to go on for a fair stretch, right? Does seem to branch off as well here. Is that another wash in parallel to Tacoma Road? Can anyone confirm? It's like a root effect. And then it seems to branch on to the main part of the wash, as you see here, right? I'll be honest with you, this is a lot better than the 2019 imagery. I can clearly identify the wash clearly. You know, when zoomed in, you can actually see the ridges, you can see the depth of it, you can see the shadows casted by the like overhang of the land as it descends into the wash, and you can very, very clearly see track marks, right? I think that's what's most interesting. Now, whose track marks are they? Well, if this is 2023 imagery, you could argue and say it's Search and Rescue, Candice Cooley, them lot, right? I mean, you can't be saying it's Brenner or probably Don Haley because they're like long gone in their own different ways, right? But you can definitely identify the wash. At what point does it end? Well, Pilot Mountain Road there, the crossing of the railroad tracks. At what point is it? Because I can't rotate the screen, that is the slight limitation. There we go. So it looks like once we get to here, centre of the screen where those railroad tracks are, I think it goes underground, comes out on the other side, and that's where you greeted with the wash here, which bends round. Okay? And if you kept on following that, that's what goes up to Grouse Creek. Okay, and we zoom on out, and you follow it. Okay. Probably zoom out a bit more. Grouse Creek Junction. So around this area. Apologies. Unfortunately, the screen keeps going dark because of this stupid adaptive display. So hopefully it's not going dark on the video itself, because that would be a shame. But what I have noticed though, this time round when looking at the wash, okay, from Grouse Creek, is the fact it does branch off, okay? You go up that way, it eventually goes to Grouse Creek, but you go left, and it winds all the way, right? And then I think this is like, is this in Montello by now? Very close to Montello. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So basically, Bing Maps is a lot better for visually seeing all the different washes and routes, how it branches off from one another. Okay. I just wish we had the measuring ruler. Anything else? Because I don't know how else to describe it, because I can see the washes myself with my eyes, but I don't know if you as the viewer can see it yourself. Anywhere where it looks like a road, where it looks kind of greyish, looks like a racetrack, how it bends in and out, that is a wash, what I'm looking at, okay? It's the only way I can really describe it to you. But the main part down here, which has been looked at by, I guess, Ty Corbin, Lance Kelly to an extent. So we've got to measure the 20 miles west, which Candice Cooley said originally, and then possibly look at the 20 miles southeast, northeast. Maybe we should do that right now, but we'll have to go on to the other satellite imagery of Google. Back on 2019 imagery, you'll notice a big difference already visually, and I guess the colour as well, right? So that brown stuff, what we were looking at, is what we were looking at beforehand, which was of a different colour. I think it was more blackish, okay? You can still make out the wash, but what you can't see as much is the depth to it, right? Or the shadows casted as clearly, I guess. But following it, yeah, this is the thing. When following it, the width becomes very narrow, and because of the greenery and the colouring and the redness nearby, you kind of lose aim and lose track of the wash partially. But it's that white line which goes up that way. Then that point there, you see that like black square thing kind of 3D, but not quite on the satellite imagery. That's like a tunnel or some kind of pipe. I don't know what you call it, but it goes underneath the railroad tracks, as you see there, comes out the other side here, and then you follow it. As you can see, it bends all the way around. At what point does it branch off? Oh, why do you do that, you fucking twat? Oh, this really pisses me off, you fucking little twat. You bastard. Let me do that again. Little bastard. Go through there, come out there. Follow it up. At what point does it branch off? It doesn't seem to show us clearly on here. I think that's what the problem is. Yeah, you keep on following it, but at what point does it get to Grouse Creek? 1000 Creek, and then it goes up that way. Grouse Creek up this way. Unfortunately, the names don't always pop up, so that really does piss me off. So I think what we are actually seeing now is the actual downfall and limitations Google has, right? I mean, if Bing Maps had the measuring stick, that would have been just perfect, and then we could have done it all from there. But we can't, okay? Make sure I'm facing north, yeah. Track marks, 20 miles west, described by Candice Cooley, and to do with the wash. So we just pick close to the pond, let's say here, within the wash. Or should we aim a little bit higher up? Let's aim a bit higher up so it's in power, a bit more there, let's say, something like that. And then it's 20 miles west where the track marks were, which could be Dylan's truck. What the fuck? So, let me just go direct. Oh, can we go directly to 20? No, you bastard. Fuck you. Right, so basically 20 miles west from the pond of where the tracks were found by Candice Cooley, whoever, in the early days. We're basically in Montello, Nevada, in the bloody mountain range. Yeah, that doesn't seem quite right, does it? Let's zoom on here. What do we have? We've got mountains. Do we have any washes? Not from what I can see personally. Oh, hang on. Charlie Canyon. Is Charlie Canyon a wash? It looks like a wash in a way. Might be wrong. We follow it down. That could be a wash, possibly. Comes from the mountain area. Do we have any photos of Charlie Canyon? Nope. Screw you. So I can understand why Quinton would be saying, I think Candice Cooley got it wrong. Okay. Let's refer to what Quinton thinks. So roughly around the area of the pond, something like 20 miles northeast was one of the suggestions. So let's just go north first and then we'll point east. About 20 east. Unfortunately, we don't really have a compass, do we? Is northeast something like that? Just get a bit more. Come on. Why does it skip so much? It's such a prick. Right, let's just do it like that because it's just going to be awkward. Why is it not letting me press the OK button? What the fuck? Something like that. Add point. Oh, there we go. Are we northeast? Well, it looks like we're close enough. And then it deletes itself. Wow. So 20 miles northeast of the pond, we're looking around Bovine Mountains and Devil's Playground, which is a place of interest talked about by Lance Kelly and maybe Ty Corbin in the past. Lance Kelly went down to Devil's Playground, if I'm correct in saying, and as well at Devil's Playground there is a Dylan Rounds poster, but to do with the hunting season one, spreading awareness for the hunters out there. So do we have any washes near to Devil's Playground? There appears to be a wash there, the way it swirls around, twists and turns. Yep, okay, fair enough. But why over here, though? Why would the track marks be over here, right? Lucin, down here, grain shed, here, Brenner's place of living. Going all that distance past the airport to go to Bovine Mountains and Devil's Playground around this area, the track marks. But this is the thing, because it's not 100% confirmed it's Dylan's track marks, it's still kind of uncertain, right? And because there's been track marks left, right and centre over time, despite it supposedly being a ghost town, despite all these people living in trailers, which makes me think there's probably more people than there actually is. It could just be random people visiting. What about those track marks at Brenner's burnt down trailer 2 days before the police went down to investigate and Lance Kelly documented those track marks? Who was there? You know what I'm saying? You might get these random people going down there just out of interest to search about. You might get people going out hiking or camping. I mean, if there's track marks near or around Devil's Playground, Devil Playgrounds is a bit of a tourist attraction. People do go down there to have a look for themselves or maybe to camp out nearby. So, yeah, that's what the track marks could be from. And what would have encouraged the original people that found it to go in this direction? I mean, a flyby, okay, you're flying over, going a fair bit of distance and you're getting a good view all around, as well with the drones, as we've noticed, okay? I mean, the other track marks that were found by Mob Crew Chris were the excavation or ATV ones, which was cleared up as a result by search and rescue who were responsible for that, right? I think the key thing is, with time going on, really, the most critical time to be looking for track marks would be on the day or the day after, maybe the day after that, when Dylan went missing and was buried, right? Because you go past that point, fast forward on, you might have people coming on down, volunteers, leaving track marks. You may get police going back and forth, search and rescue back and forth, creating track marks. Family coming down, creating track marks. Strangers, campers, hikers, whatever, right? With time, more track marks will form. Imagine going to sun tunnels trying to track down track marks of a particular person. It would be very difficult because there is a fair volume of visitors that come and go. So the ground is often disturbed as you see the prints in the ground, right? So there's that to take in mind. Then you get those moments where someone like Lance Kelly has been out there himself and he's constantly documented these track marks here and there in Lucin, out and about. Whose are they? Don't know. Do you get down to the bottom of it? No. So there's a lot of loose stuff going on with time, right? In your opinion, what finding would you say has dragged on and never been resolved? Let me know in the chat. What finding, what discovery by the parents, family, by the police, which has not been reinforced since or covered or updated? Let me know. What would I say personally? I'd probably just say the track marks, to be honest. The one set of track marks. Yeah. Because everything else has either been just like turned out to be a rumour or debunked or reinforced with time, right? But the track marks have kind of faded away. As for the discussion about Dylan Round's truck, was it actually used? Yes, no. Was it washed, pressure washed, or was it natural rain? Yes, no. That's still kind of up for debate as well. Does it really matter? Well, maybe. It could be one of those things where if you can identify the track marks and associate it with Dylan's truck, then you could reinforce that the truck was in fact used and moved and operated with, right? So maybe you've got to find one bit of evidence before you find the other to reinforce the previous discovery or previous theory. So yeah, the track marks seem quite high on the priority list of importance, but is it too late now to try and find an answer about them. I don't know. But if something has been found at a wash nearby by Chris and Equisearch, that could be something of interest, right? But then Candice Cooley would know about it, right? So she's not provided it in any update interviews. So I guess it will be very interesting to see what comes up in the next update interview by Candice Cooley, whenever that is, because time is going on, right? And see if anything that's been mentioned in this video is brought up in that video of that interview. That'll be interesting to see. I said it's kind of hard to follow the wash when you're on this satellite imagery, right? The main one does show because it's the size of it and the width, but the areas where it gets a little bit narrow or goes around the bends, you kind of like lose track of it on here, at least. On the Bing maps, it's a lot clearer to see. But yeah, we'll just leave it there for now. Okay, hopefully there's a bit of backstory to that and understanding. If you do have any questions, make sure to list it down below, and if you've got additional information, you can leave that too, because I know the live chat is limited to what you can type in length. Yeah. And yeah, we'll see what happens next. I would say right now, at this moment in speaking, I've reached a checkpoint in the Dylan Rounds case. Right now on the spot, there's not really any videos that need to be covered on Dylan Rounds unless people have suggestions or new pieces of information or information events which need to be covered in an actual video format. The only other thing that I might need to do is just check back in on a previous comment by Tom, if I've still got the screenshot laying about, something to do with Dylan's activity of where he was a few days before going missing or something. If so, I can do a little map analysis of that, kind of like what I did with the Cal Ranch Superstore one, okay? And then in between from there and then, if there's anything else, breaking news, that can be covered. But want to try and focus and get on with those dodgy videos, because got a good, on a good roll there, right? That's working well, so keep that up, I guess. Do I need to start charging whips by the hour? By the hour? No, I've got to be charging whips by the minute. Yeah. Anyway, that aside, what I want to be able to do is get to a point, kind of like now, arguably speaking, unless there's more to come on Dylan Rounds, to where can transition on to Kenny Veach, because I'm not sure if doing Kenny Veach videos here and there is as effective, impactful as if I was to like upload one video after another on Kenny Veach, so there was a bit more traction and a bit more frequency. I don't know. But as I said, whenever there's an important update, a Kenny Veach video will be made regardless, right? And as I said, I've done one previous, so if another update comes about, then that will follow. But, you know, we'll see what happens next. Unexpected things can happen, of course, right? And, you know, with the 24th being today, I think, and Brenna's court date, maybe we can do some talk video about that if it does actually happen. Though some people previously saying that it was delayed till August, right? Bit of a jump. That is a bit of a fair jump, that, from then till back there. Is it effective? Useful? I guess in a way, because it just gives that opportunity, that window, that window frame of window, time opening to spend summer searching for Dylan, kind of like in 2022, but maybe lock on more this time. I think the search efforts, if going on right now, are much quieter than what we may have seen or heard in 2022. But I guess with time and learning what to do and what not to say, they've taken into mind. So I don't know where we're going to get the updates from. If I had to make a little prediction, I'd probably say coming up at some point, Candice Cooley will probably post on the Find Dylan Rounds Facebook page saying, soon we'll have an update coming up on a No Thanks channel. Be on the lookout for it. And then that will follow with the video on No Thanks channel, the interview, and then see what happens. Okay? So I think we'll leave it there for now. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, found it somewhat interesting, maybe learned something new. And yeah, for now, goodbye and good night.